What if I told you that the worst pain you've ever felt could be the greatest turning point of your life? She walked away, and now your mind is drowning in endless questions. Why did she leave? Was I not enough? Is she thinking about me? But let me tell you something, none of that matters. What matters is what happens next. Most men collapse under the weight of rejection. They chase, they beg, they let the pain eat away at them until there's nothing left but regret. They become shadows of who they used to be. But you have a choice. You can either let this break you, or you can let it build you into something unshakable. Right now, she thinks she knows you. She walked away believing you'd be stuck, lost in memories, drowning in self-pity, waiting for her to come back. But that version of you, he's gone, dead. You are stepping into something new, something sharper, something greater. This isn't just about moving on. It's about becoming the kind of man she never thought you could be. The kind of man who doesn't wait, doesn't chase, and doesn't break. You are going to transform yourself so completely that by the time she realizes what she lost, it won't even matter to you anymore. Think about fire. It destroys everything in its path. But from that destruction comes something new, stronger, untamed, unstoppable. That's you now. This pain you feel, it's the fire that will forge you into something greater. Every doubt, every moment of weakness, burn it. Let it fuel you. Let it push you to rise above the ashes. You want revenge? This is how you take it. Not with words, not with anger, not with desperate attempts to make her notice you. The real revenge is evolution. When she sees you again, if she ever gets the chance, it won't be the same man she left. It will be someone she never saw coming, someone too strong to need her. And by then, you won't even care. So I ask you, are you ready? Are you ready to stop being a prisoner to your emotions and start becoming the kind of man who doesn't need anyone to complete him? This is the moment everything changes. Because at the end of this video, I will give you something powerful, something that will stay with you forever. So don't just watch, absorb every word, because what you're about to hear could shift your entire life. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and press the bell icon so you never miss a video that makes you stronger. And right now, comment below, I know my worth. Let this be your first step in becoming the person no one dares to forget. Now, let's begin. Number 1, don't fall for the emotional trap. Break free now. Right now you feel the pull, a desperate urge to reach out. You want to text them, call them, maybe even beg for another chance. Your mind is screaming at you, convincing you that if you just say the right words, if you remind them of what you had, they'll come back. But let me tell you something. Nothing pushes someone further away than a person who can't control their emotions. Neediness is repulsive. Desperation is poison. Every time you chase, you prove that they made the right decision to leave. Think about it. If they truly valued you, would they have walked away so easily? Would they have left you wondering, suffering, questioning your worth? Someone who truly cares does not abandon you at the first sign of trouble. If they did, it tells you everything you need to know. They believed you weren't strong enough to walk away. They thought you would crumble without them. And if you let your emotions dictate your actions, if you react with panic, you prove them right. But here's something they don't expect. Silence. Indifference. They expect the old you, the one who would do anything to get them back, the one who would chase. But that person is gone. This time, you must do the unexpected. You must disappear. No texts, no calls, no checking their social media. You must vanish so thoroughly that they start to question everything. Imagine a fire burning brightly. If you keep feeding it, it blazes stronger. But what happens if you stop adding fuel? It dies down. That's how your presence works. When you stop giving them your energy, their grip loosens. The second they feel you've moved on, the second they realize you're no longer chasing, the power shifts. Emotional control is everything. A Stoic person doesn't react. They observe, calculate, and decide what's worthy of their energy. And someone who left you? They're no longer worthy, not because you hate them or feel bitter, but because you value yourself. A person who values themselves does not waste time on those who don't see their worth. This isn't about revenge or playing games. You're not going silent to make them miss you. You're doing it because you refuse to let anyone have power over you. You are choosing yourself. You're choosing peace. Like the ocean, calm on the surface, but powerful beneath, you remain composed. You don't let the waves of emotion toss you around. They may wonder why you're not reaching out. They may start to doubt their decision, but by then, it won't matter. You will have moved on to something greater. This journey isn't about winning them back. It's about winning back yourself. This is your chance to grow, to rediscover your own strength and worth. Think of a plant that's been uprooted. If you try to force it back into the same soil, it won't thrive. It needs new ground, fresh space to take root again. You're the same. You need to find new soil, new experiences, new people, a new life where you can flourish. Don't keep trying to grow in a place that rejected you. Your silence isn't weakness, it's power. It's the space you need to heal, to reflect, and to rise. They may pretend it doesn't bother them. They may act indifferent, but deep down, they'll notice. The absence of your energy will echo louder than any words you could say. And if they do come back, if they suddenly realize what they lost, remember this: someone who truly values you wouldn't have put you through this pain. You don't settle for breadcrumbs. You deserve a full table. This isn't about holding a grudge. It's about holding yourself to a higher standard. They expected you to crumble. They thought you would come running back. But you're stronger than that. You don't beg for love. You don't fight for attention that should be freely given. When you walk away, you do it with dignity. When you choose silence, you do it with strength. Control your emotions, or they will control you. This is the essence of Stoicism. Don't let your feelings drive you into desperation. Instead, let your silence speak volumes. Focus on becoming the best version of yourself. Not for them, but for you. In the end, their opinion doesn't define you. Your worth isn't measured by their validation. So, break free from the emotional trap. Let go, and watch how powerful you become when you choose yourself. Number 2. The power of indifference. Unshaken, unbothered, untouchable. You want to know what truly makes someone regret losing you? It's not anger. It's not sadness. It's not even success. It's indifference. Nothing is more powerful than a person who is completely unbothered by the loss of someone they once cared about. Why? Because it sends one undeniable message. You do not need them, and someone who does not need is far more attractive than someone who begs. Right now, they expect you to care. They expect you to be watching, waiting, hoping for a second chance. They expect to see hints of your pain on social media, to hear from friends that you're still thinking about them. And when they realize that you don't, when they see you have moved on without hesitation, that is when doubt creeps in. Because people crave validation. The moment they feel like they no longer have control over your emotions, they start to question everything. Did I make a mistake? Did I misjudge them? Why aren't they chasing me like everyone else would? The answer is simple. You have become unshaken. You have mastered detachment. A Stoic does not allow external events to disturb their inner world. Whether they stay or leave, whether they laugh with someone new, whether they post pictures pretending they're happier than ever, it doesn't matter. Their choices are theirs. But your response? That is your power. And your response is silence. Your response is composure. Your response is absolute, unshakable indifference. Imagine a storm raging outside. Winds howl, rain pours, lightning strikes. But inside the mountain, deep in its core, there is stillness. That is the kind of strength you must embody. No matter what happens outside, you remain unshaken. That is what makes them regret. Because regret isn't caused by seeing you broken. It's caused by realizing you never needed them in the first place. They must feel your absence like a ghost in the room. Not through words, not through petty games, but through the undeniable reality that you are not there anymore. You do not react. You do not seek them. You do not acknowledge them. And when they finally notice, when they realize you have stepped into a version of yourself that no longer revolves around them, they will feel something they never expected, the feeling of loss. And that is when the power shifts. That is when they begin to regret. But by then, it won't matter, because you will have evolved into something greater. You will have become untouchable. Number 3. Rise again. Destroy the old. Build the unstoppable you. The person they left, that version of you no longer exists. The weak, emotional, dependent version, gone. This isn't just about moving on. It's about rebirth. It's about wiping away the old blueprint and rebuilding yourself from the ground up. Because if you stay the same, if you keep the same habits, the same mindset, the same patterns that led to this, you'll only repeat the cycle. And that is not an option. Now begins the process of becoming unrecognizable, not just to them, but to yourself. You transform on every level. Physically, you train harder than ever before. You sculpt a body that commands respect, that radiates discipline, that makes people take notice when you walk into a room. Mentally, you sharpen your mind, feeding it knowledge, cutting out distractions, eliminating anything that makes you weak. Financially, you build power, not for revenge, not to prove a point, but because control over your future means control over your life. Emotionally, you master yourself. You become the kind of person who walks through fire without flinching, who remains unmoved no matter what happens around them. And then you watch. Watch as people start to take notice. The same ones who once pitied you now look at you with respect. The world sees a different person, a person who is focused, powerful, untouchable, and them. They see it too. Maybe they hear about it from mutual friends. Maybe they come across a picture of you, stronger, sharper, better than they remember. And for the first time, doubt creeps in. This isn't the person I left. This isn't the person I thought I could replace. And that's when it hits them. They didn't just lose you. They lost the future version of you, the version that is no longer waiting, no longer needing, no longer looking back. But here's the truth. This transformation isn't about them. It's not about making them regret. It's about making yourself proud. It's about standing in front of the mirror, looking into your own eyes, and knowing, without a doubt, that you are no longer the same, that you are stronger, that you are colder, that you are untouchable. The weak version of you is gone. The new version fears nothing, needs nothing, and that is what makes you unstoppable. Number 4. The silent comeback, mastering the power of absence. Silence is your greatest weapon in a world where everyone is desperate for attention, where people beg for another chance, where desperation seeps through every message. Your silence will be deafening. While most will cry, argue, or try to prove their worth, you will do the one thing they never expected. You will vanish. Not as a game, not as a trick, but as someone who understands their own value. Disappearing is not weakness, it is power. It forces people to wonder, it forces them to question, it forces them to miss what they took for granted. When you remove yourself completely, without explanation, without anger, without resentment, you shift the entire dynamic. Because for the first time, they no longer have access to you. And that's when doubt creeps in. Why haven't they reached out? Did I misjudge them? Have they already moved on? People are addicted to certainty. They want to know that you're still thinking about them. They want to know that they still have a hold on you. But when you remove yourself so completely, when you cut off all access, you create a void their mind will desperately try to fill. They will check your social media, waiting for a sign that you still care. They will look for any proof that they still matter. And when they find nothing, that's when the regret begins. Because here's what they never expected: that you would become unreachable, that you would become the one who got away, that instead of chasing, instead of begging, you would step into your power and leave them wondering what happened. And the longer you remain silent, the more valuable you become in their mind. Because time does something dangerous. It distorts memories. It makes people remember the good and forget the bad. And as the days turn into weeks, as the weeks turn into months, the person they left behind will start to feel like a mistake they never should have made. But by then, it won't matter, because while they were stuck in the past, you were building your future. You were leveling up, evolving, transforming, and when they finally reach out, because make no mistake, they will, you will no longer be the same. You will no longer be waiting. You will have already moved beyond their reach. That is the power of silence. That is the power of walking away. Number 5. Walk in like you own the room. The return of a high-value you. Now that you've disappeared, now that you've rebuilt yourself into something stronger, sharper, and more disciplined, it's time for the next step, re-entering the world as someone of value. But this time, you don't chase. You don't seek validation. You walk into every room with a presence that commands respect. Because now, you understand what most people never figure out. Those who don't need validation are the ones who naturally attract it. The biggest mistake weak people make after being left behind is rushing to fill the void. They jump into meaningless distractions, seeking quick attention to prove they still have it. But you move differently. You don't chase, you choose. You are no longer someone who puts others on a pedestal, who seeks approval, who craves attention to feel whole. Now, you know you are the prize. And that shift? That changes everything. People can sense energy. They can tell when someone is desperate, when they need attention, when they are seeking external validation. But they can also tell when someone is completely self-sufficient, when someone is confident, indifferent, and in control. And that is what makes others drawn to you, not because you're playing a game, not because you're pretending, but because you genuinely do not care whether they stay or go, because you have built a life that is already fulfilling with or without them. Now, when you talk to people, it's different. You are relaxed, you are present, you don't try to impress, you don't chase. You carry yourself with the quiet confidence of someone who knows their worth. You listen more than you speak. You let them wonder about you. You let them feel your presence without overexposing yourself. And the moment they sense that you are not like the rest, that you do not seek their approval, they will feel something they cannot control: intrigue. Because here's the truth: people are most drawn to those who could walk away at any moment, without hesitation. The ones who are so focused on their purpose, so sure of their own worth, that anyone else in their life is simply a bonus, not a necessity. And the moment you master that energy, you will never have to chase again. And what about the one who left? When they see this, when they realize you have not only moved on, but have become someone that others now admire, the regret will cut deeper than they ever expected. But by then, it won't matter, because you will have already become something greater. Number 6. The dark side of attraction, when loss becomes unbearable. Now comes the moment they never expected, the moment they realize what they lost. But here's the truth: regret isn't something you can force on someone. It's something they must feel on their own. You don't send messages telling them you've changed. You don't try to prove you've become a better version of yourself. You let the weight of your absence and the undeniable evidence of your transformation do all the talking. The human mind craves what it can't have. The moment you become scarce, the moment you remove all traces of the old you, the moment you stop reacting to their existence, that's when they start to wonder. At first, they were confident in their decision. They thought you would linger, that you would remain an option. But as time passes and you stay silent, unbothered, and focused on your own growth, a dangerous thought creeps into their mind. Did I make a mistake? This is where the dark side of attraction comes in. People are drawn to contrast. They need to see the difference between the version of you they left and the one you've become. And nothing makes that contrast clearer than realizing they can no longer access you. When they scroll through social media and see you looking stronger, sharper, and more refined. When they hear from mutual friends that you are thriving, focused, and completely unfazed. When they notice that others are now drawn to you, that's when panic sets in, because now they are on the outside looking in. They thought they had you figured out, but now they don't even recognize you. The person who once revolved around them is now untouchable. And here's the brutal truth: people don't regret losing someone until they see someone else benefiting from their transformation. That's when the loss becomes real. That's when jealousy creeps in. Because nothing haunts a person more than seeing someone they once had become someone they can no longer reach. But here's where you must remain disciplined. You don't entertain their attempts to reconnect. You don't give them the closure they seek. They made their choice, and now they must live with it. Because your goal was never to make them regret. You simply became so great that regret became inevitable. And by the time they realize it, you will have already outgrown them. This is how you win. Not by seeking revenge, not by proving a point, but by becoming so unforgettable that the thought of losing you becomes their greatest regret. Number 7. Untouchable. Mastering your world, controlling your fate. At this stage, something shifts inside you. The need for revenge, the craving for validation, the lingering thoughts of what was. They all begin to fade. Not because you forced yourself to forget, but because you have outgrown the version of yourself that cared. You have reached a state of emotional sovereignty where nothing external has power over you anymore. And that, right there, is the most powerful position a person can be in. Most live as prisoners to their emotions. They react impulsively, they seek approval, they let outside forces, other people, opinions, circumstances, dictate their state of mind. But someone who has mastered their world? They remain untouched by these things. They understand one fundamental truth. The person who needs nothing has everything. Think about it. When you no longer need attention, approval, or validation, you become truly free. No absence can shake you. No rejection can break you. No setback can throw you off course. Because your value, your peace, your identity, they are no longer tied to anything outside of yourself. They come from within. And this is where you become dangerous. Not in a reckless way, but in a way that makes people take notice. That makes them respect you. You walk differently. You talk differently. You move differently. You're no longer swayed by trivial emotions. If someone leaves, they leave. If an opportunity fades, another will come. Nothing disturbs the stillness of your mind. And that energy, it's magnetic, because people like this are rare. And what happens when they see the person you've become? They feel it, the power shift. They no longer have control, because the truth is, they never did. They were just a passing chapter in your story. And when they realize that their presence or absence no longer affects you, it unsettles them. Because the one who cannot be controlled is the one who is unforgettable. But here's the beauty of it. You don't care anymore. Whether they regret it or not, whether they try to come back or not, it doesn't matter, because you are focused on something far greater, your own path, your own mission, your own legacy, and nothing, no person, no situation, no fleeting emotion will ever dictate your value again. This is true power. This is true freedom. Number 8. The tables have turned. Now you decide. And then, one day, it happens. A message, a like, a sudden, unexpected, "Hey, how have you been?" They reach out, not because they care, but because they feel the shift. The energy is different now. You are no longer waiting in the shadows, hoping for their return. You are in control, and that unsettles them. People always come back, not always because they want you, but because they want to know they could have you. They want to confirm that you're still an option, still affected, still reachable. But here's where you must be ruthless. You do not go back to what broke you. You do not entertain someone who only returns when they feel you slipping from their grasp. Because if they truly valued you, they would have never walked away in the first place. The real question is this: when they come back, what will you do? Will you revert to the person they left? Will you fall back into old patterns, thinking that now they finally see your worth? Or will you do what someone with self-respect does? Evaluate from a position of power? Because this time, you decide. This time, you hold the final say. And that's when they will feel it. The loss, the regret, the weight of their own decision. They thought they could return and pick up where they left off. But you are no longer that person. You have options now. You have control now. You are no longer grateful for their attention. They must now prove that they are worthy of yours. But here's the truth. By the time they come back, you won't even want them anymore, because you have leveled up so far beyond who you used to be that revisiting that chapter feels like a step backward. The old you would have jumped at the chance to fix things. The new you? They've already moved on to something better. So when they reach out, don't be angry. Don't be bitter. Just smile. Because they have finally realized what you knew all along. They lost something great. And you gained everything. Number 9. Stand alone and conquer. Claim the ultimate power. There comes a moment when you realize that the most powerful person in any room is the one who can walk away from anything or anyone without hesitation or fear. This realization can feel like a sudden flash of light. It reveals how much strength lies in your ability to let go. People who are willing to leave behind what doesn't serve them, who refuse to be controlled by external forces, embody a level of freedom that few ever achieve. How do you reach that point? First, understand that everything in life is temporary: relationships, situations, even emotions. But what remains is your purpose, your core mission that no one else can take away. It might help to imagine a towering oak tree, standing firm in a raging storm. The winds may bend its branches, the rain may batter its trunk, but its roots go deep. Your purpose is like those roots, grounding you in who you are. When you trust that sense of direction, when you truly believe in your own worth, nothing can break you. Maybe you've been left behind or betrayed. Maybe you once tied your sense of self to someone who walked away. That's okay. That chapter needed to end. Why? Because it forced you to stand on your own 2 feet. It taught you that you aren't defined by someone else's presence in your life. Think of it like a phoenix rising from ashes. The old you had to burn, so the stronger you could emerge. People might ask, aren't you afraid of being alone? But real solitude isn't a punishment, it's an opportunity. In solitude, you can learn who you are without the static noise of others telling you what to do or how to feel. It's the forge in which great ideas are born and lasting legacies are shaped. An inventor might spend countless nights alone in a workshop, fine-tuning a creation no one else believes in yet. A writer might lock themselves away for months, weaving an epic that seems impossible until it's done. In both examples, solitude isn't loneliness, it's the space for transformation. Some may wonder, shouldn't I want people around me? Isn't connection important? Absolutely, humans are social creatures. But there's a difference between healthy connection and desperate attachment. Healthy connection happens when 2 people stand side by side, each strong in their own right, choosing to share their paths. Desperate attachment occurs when one clings to another for identity or worth. When you learn to stand alone, you free yourself from grasping at anyone or anything for validation. You might also ask, what if they come back? Am I supposed to give them another chance? The powerful truth is that you decide. If they walked away, they gave up that place in your world. If they return, it should be on your terms, if at all. Often, by the time someone realizes they made a mistake, you've already outgrown that relationship. Picture a caterpillar that has transformed into a butterfly. It can't go back into the cocoon even if it wanted to, because it has evolved beyond that stage. Walking alone doesn't mean you shun genuine bonds. It means you're not afraid to lose anything that compromises your peace or growth. You no longer measure your value by how many people stick around. You understand that real power comes from your ability to say, I can leave at any time, and mean it. This is the mindset of emperors and conquerors, of groundbreaking artists and visionary leaders. They follow their calling, whether anyone stands with them or not. What if you fear losing comfort or familiarity? Remember, comfort zones can become cages. Growth is often uncomfortable, but it's also liberating. When you let go of what's familiar, you open yourself to what's possible. An eagle perched safely on a branch might be secure, but it will never experience the rush of wind beneath its wings if it refuses to fly. Similarly, you'll never know your true potential if you cling to old habits, old relationships, or old ways of thinking that weigh you down. By now, you might wonder, what do I do with all this power once I have it? The answer is simple. You use it to build the life you deserve. Power without purpose is wasted energy. But when you use your power to fulfill your potential, to create something meaningful, you become unstoppable. Your legacy won't be defined by who left you or who stayed. It will be defined by what you built and who you became in the process. And if they look back and regret leaving you, that's their story, not yours. Let them wonder. Let them wrestle with the consequences of their choices. You owe them nothing, not anger, not explanation, not a second chance. You walk forward, head held high, eyes on your next horizon, because you know that everything you need is already within you. No setback, no rejection, no betrayal can alter the path you've chosen unless you allow it. So stand alone and conquer. Walk away if you need to. Shed everything that doesn't elevate you to your highest potential. Become the person who decides their own fate. There is no greater power than being at peace with yourself, free from the grip of anyone's approval or disapproval. If this resonates with you, if you feel that stirring in your core that says, it's time to change, embrace it. This is your moment. This is your invitation to step into your destiny. Claim your freedom and never settle for anything less than what fuels your spirit. Commit to your path and let the world witness your rise. Now, go build the life you deserve. If you're ready to declare your own strength, show your support. Like this, subscribe, and comment below. I will never be the same again. Then, step forward, fearless, unbound, and ready to conquer.